What's up? Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker. Now, today we're going to get into some fundamentals of math. We're going to do some subtraction with borrowing, but actually we're going to use a different method. We're going to use the expanded form. And the expanded form is pretty cool because it enables a student, a young person, even an adult like myself, right, to get a better visualization, to get a better picture of what's actually happening in the problem. But before we do that, because it is March 2023, it's Women's History Month, I definitely want to recognize this sister, this ancestor that's on my t-shirt. This is Rosa Parks, the late Rosa Parks, who was very instrumental in kicking off the Montgomery bus boycott back in 1955. And she also did much other work in activism after that, and she was already an activist prior to that. So she didn't just come out of nowhere and get her career in activism or her work in activism started in 1955. Later in her life, she also would be supportive of efforts such as the Republic of New Africa, with brothers and sisters such as Imari Obadeli, Robert F. Williams, Chokwe Lumumba, and a lot of other people, a lot of other participants within that. And the Republic of New Africa is still a entity today in 2023. So if you've never heard of the Republic of New Africa, please look it up. Please do your research on the Republic of New Africa. And if you're not that familiar with Rosa Parks, besides what, seeing her name dropped in school, during Black History Month, then please do some more research on Rosa Parks as well. You'll find out a lot. All right, now let's get into this. 382 minus 297, 382 minus 297. So I'm gonna do this problem two ways, right? Before I do the expanded form or the expanded method, I'm gonna do the traditional borrowing method, or what we call regrouping. Right, regrouping, but more specifically borrowing. So what I'm looking at is 382 minus 297. Now, when I do the borrowing method, I need all the digits in the top number to be bigger than the digits in the either bigger than or equal to the digits in the bottom number. The top number actually has a name. We call it the minuend. So the top number is the minuend. And the bottom number, we call it the subtrahend. So that's a little bit of math vocabulary for you, right? Minuend minus subtrahend, all right? And you can remember that because the number that's being subtracted is called the subtrahend. And the top number is the minuend. All right, so you see this 2 is less than 7. So that's an issue for this method, right? For this particular method of borrowing, that's an issue. Because you can't I don't like to tell students you can't do 2 minus 7. You can do 2 minus 7, just you can't do it within this particular method, all right? And 8 minus 9. You can do 8 minus 9, but if you're trying to borrow, you can't do it within this method, all right? It's not gonna fly. All right, so what I do is I wanna make this 2 bigger. So when we borrow, what we do is we take 10 from this 80. Now you might be looking at this crazy, right? Because this is an 8, but it actually represents 80. And when we get to the expanded form, you're gonna see much more clearly what it actually is. All right, so we're gonna take 10 from this 8, it's gonna become a 70. So we write a 7 because we got 7 tens, 7 tens. That 10 gets added to the 2, that's gonna become a 12. So now this 2 became a 12 because we added 10 to it, and we got 12. So now we could do subtraction, 12 minus 7, 12 minus 7. And we should know our subtraction facts. We know 12 minus 7 is 5. So you put a 5 right here, right? And then now we got 7 minus 9. Well, actually, we really got 70 minus 90, 70 minus 90. Now, using this method, we can't do that within this method, all right? Generally, you can do 70 minus 90, but when we doing this method, you can't do that. Just like there's certain things that you can do in certain places, but you can't do them in other places. Like, you can do that if you want to, but you can't do that up in here, right? When we borrowing, you can't do 70 minus 90. All right, so we want to make 70 bigger. So we're going to take 100 from 300, because this 3 is really 300. That's going to become 200. So we put a 2 right there. You take the 100 from the 300, give it to the 70. Now you got 100 plus 70. So that's 170. And we represent that with a 17, because that's how many tens you got, because this is the tens place, right? Just like this was the ones place. This is the tens place, and this is the hundreds place. So now we got 17 tens or 170. And you can do 170 minus 90 using this method. So 170 take away 90, right? That's going to give me, 80? So I'm going to put an 8 right here. right? That's 80. And then I got 2 minus 2, which is 0. If 0 is in the largest place value, you don't need to write it, all right? So our difference is 85. Oh, that's another math term for you. Difference. Difference is the answer when you subtract two numbers. So our difference is 85. Our minuend was 382. Our subtrahend was 297. And our difference is 85. Now, let's look at this like, let me do it again, right? Expanded form. 382 minus 297. All right, so watch this, right? I'm going to break this down by place value and show it what it really is. So this is really 300 plus 80 plus 2. 382. 382. 300 plus 80 plus 2. The subtrahend is 200 plus 90 plus 7. So now we're going to subtract. We still going to borrow, but we're going to subtract. This is a 2, this is a 7. So I'm going to borrow 10. Now, the benefit of the expanded form is for you or your child or your student or whoever to be able to actually see what's really happening. Because just like up here, you might look at this and say, all right, well, I'm putting a 1 next to the 2. And look, this is how I learned it when I was a youngin', way back in the day, right? I just was like, all right, well, this is an 8. This is how I interpreted this. This is an 8. I'm going to borrow 1 from the 8 and put it next to the 2 and make a 12. That's what it looks like is happening, but that's not really what's happening. If you look at it like that, you're not really taking into consideration what's actually happening mathematically. And you're kind of disregarding place value, right? We got to really understand place value. All right. So what's happening is I'm going to take 10 from this 80, and that's going to make that 70. I take 10, and then this is going to become 12. All right. So then I do 12, take away 7. That gives me 5. All right. Now I got 70 and I got 90. Now using this method of borrowing, my top numbers must be bigger than my bottom numbers. The numbers in my minuend must be bigger than the numbers in my subtrahend. So I got to borrow 100. And again, I'm only borrowing, I'm borrowing according to base 10. So I'm borrowing tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Those are the numbers I'm borrowing. All right. So then from the 300, I'm not going to borrow like 50 or like 40 or like 128. I'm going to borrow exactly 100. So I'm borrowing 100 from 300. So that's going to turn this into 200. And I'm going to take that 100 and add it to the 70. So that becomes 170. So then I'm doing 170, take away 90, and I get 80. Put a plus sign, 80 plus 5. 80 plus 5 is 85. So notice how we did it two different ways, right? We did it without expanding the numbers. We did it by expanding the numbers. Either way, we still get 85. All right. Now, it's a bunch of ways to do this, though. Matter of fact, it is a way where we can borrow without borrowing tens, hundreds, thousands. We could borrow exactly how much we need. You know, I'm going to do another video on that. All right. And I'm going to upload it to the channel, too. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way. And make sure you share this video with some other people. All right. And I'm also going to do a video where we can get negative numbers. That's going to blow your mind, right? That's going to blow your mind. I'm trying to tell you. I was actually excited when I realized this because I've never seen that in a textbook or in anybody else's, video on the channel or nothing. I kind of was just experimenting because math is like science. Sometimes you should just experiment and just see what happens. Just try different methods and then just see what ends up happening. And I realized a couple things. So there's a couple methods that I created my own names for them. I call them the borrow what you need method, only borrow what you need method, and the negative numbers method. Yeah, or place value negatives, borrow what you need. They're working titles, but it's cool for now. But anyway, this is borrowing, and this is borrowing with the expanded form. All right, traditional borrowing or the traditional subtraction algorithm, as we say, or borrowing with in the expanded form. All right, so go get some practice on these. All right, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace.